Eden could not join them, so now only Boots, George, Trondour and Tim faced the last, most dangerous leg of their voyage of rediscovery. Short-handed in their cockleshell boat, their decision to set sail was a determined act of faith in their and their boat's ability to survive. The weather was kind at first. For a week they had only light airs and calms to drift them out to sea. It was a time to readjust minds to the rhythm of life on an open boat in northern waters. Within days, their inquisitive friends, the whales, rejoined them. And Trondour began to restock their seagull larder. In himself, though, each man knew this was only a lull before the inevitable foul weather. 9 days out, by St. Brendan's Day, the weather would show a different face as the crew huddled amidships to celebrate.
Well, it's a toast to St. Brendan on St. Brendan's Day.
St. Brendan.
St. Brendan.
At 200 miles, Brendan passed beyond the protective care of Iceland's Coast Guard patrols. Within 48 hours, the weather began to deteriorate rapidly. Weather reports forecast a series of deep depressions swirling across their path.
Radio, Brendan calling Prince Christiansen, radio.
On deck, George prepared for the gales that lay ahead. Trondour, imperturbable as ever, went on fishing as long as the weather allowed. Even as the wind strengthened, he used dead birds to lure others down from the sky. By May 24th, Brendan was running into gales rising to force 9. Sail was shortened to a bare minimum. The crew put on full survival gear. In case they broke free, the sail bonnets were cut clear and stowed. The ominous clatter of the pumps began. Brendan turned and ran downwind to survive. Her draft was only 15 inches. If she capsized in those icy waters, her crew would have 3 minutes to live. Cold food was all the flooded galley allowed. On the night of May 25th, 2 rogue waves struck Brendan. Each half swamped her, and only desperate bailing kept her afloat. To prevent further swamping, the crew rigged a shield of spare oxhides to fend off the seas. They streamed out heavy ropes to slow her down. For 5 days and nights, the storms pounded at Brendan. The boat so many had sworn would fall apart before ever she left the British Isles. When on May 29th the weather brought a lull, every stitch of clothing on board had been drenched, but no sun came out to dry it. The future looked very cold and damp. But Brendan had carried them through the worst. Not a stitch, not a thong had been torn or displaced, and her leather hull had hardened in the icy water like metal.
Sailing ship Brendan.
Brendan had been blown far out of radio range by the storm. She was adrift now, on her own, with only her friends the whales for company on the deep. With no sun sight to plot their position, Tim had only the currents and the speed and direction of winds by which to work out where they were. And now he made a bold decision. To clear the area of bad weather, he would take Brendan right up to the Greenland ice. There he hoped to find the winds that blow along the ice edge. It was a good decision. They picked up strong north winds that blew them south, past the tip of Greenland at over 100 miles a day. They were now between Greenland and Canada, where the weather brought freak combinations of high wind and seas with dense fog. part of the notorious fog banks of the northwest Atlantic. On his journey, St. Brendan was asked by one of his companions, "Do you know what this fog is?" "What?" said St. Brendan. "This fog encircles that land you've been seeking these 7 years." Was the fog through which the modern Brendan now sailed coincidence? Or was it further proof of ancient Irish knowledge of these icy waters? Severe weather had battered another tiny ocean traveller. One day, a small migrating bird dropped exhausted on Brendan's deck. The interlude was quickly over. Next morning, the bird was dead, frozen. With no radio contact for several days, Tim switched on Brendan's emergency transmitter in case a search and rescue operation had been mounted for her. When the skies did clear, the crew saw a sight ahead they had hoped to avoid: the edge of the Labrador pack ice.
West. Over.
Canada's Coast Guard warned that heavy pack ice stretched away unbroken to the coast of Labrador. But the way lay clear to Newfoundland. A fine northwest wind rose up to push them home. The crew relaxed in anticipation of the long journey's end. They had barely 200 miles to go. Suddenly, in the small hours of June 18th, came a sickening rasp that no one at first recognized. Brendan had run into ice. The very winds that swept her home had broken the pack to the north and blown it across her path. Only in the sulphurous light of dawn could her danger be clearly seen. There was no escape, no choice but to worm a way through. In his time, St. Brendan met what he called a column of crystal. An iceberg, perhaps? He even closed with it and measured it. Such curiosity did not rule today. Throughout the day, Brendan staggered forward through the same ice that a week before had sunk a steel icebreaker nearby. Yet here was she, a medieval boat of leather. After 14 hours, the danger seemed to be lessening, when suddenly, Brendan struck a submerged piece of ice. She gave a peculiar shudder. She was whole. Anxiously, her crew searched for the puncture in her hull. The hole was found, a few inches below the waterline, and spare leather was cut to mend it. Plunging raw hands into the frozen sea, George started stitching from the outside. If he failed, Brendan was done for. Inside the hull, Trondle passed the needle backwards. 3 frozen hours later, Brendan was saved and watertight again. Leaving the pack ice behind, she sailed on for her goal. Life on board returned to its old patterns. Trondle fed them, George steered them, Boots took pictures, and Tim made contact with land.
Calling, do you read? Over.
St. Anthony's, a Coast Guard station on the Newfoundland coast, 180 miles away.
This is St. Anthony Coast Guard Radio, St. Anthony Coast Guard Radio. Yes, I'm reading you, but your signals are very weak. Go ahead.
My position is 4180 north, 4136 west. All well on board. Over.
Vessel St. Brandon, St. Anthony. Roger, roger, roger.
Do you have a weather forecast, please? Over. Thank you. I will contact you again the same time tomorrow.
Brendan's isolation was almost over. The Coast Guard vessel John Cabot, under her master Captain Evis, was steaming for a rendezvous.
Sailing vessel St. Brennan, this is Coast Guard ship John Cabot. Sir, I read you very barely. Over.
It's a small craft. You just picked up
Coast Guard vessel John Cabot. Coast Guard vessel John Cabot. What colour is your vessel, please? What colour? Over.
Sailing vessel Brennan, we have a white superstructure and a red hull. Over.
Roger, roger. We see you now south of us. We have you visual. Over.
Roger, sir, we have you visually also. Over.
Don't tell me he's well south of his position. That's him there. By God, it sure looks like him. I just estimate he's only doing about 2 knots there at the moment.
Sailing vessel Brendan, John Cabot. Can I have a position check, please?
Roger, roger. A few minutes, I'll give you the position. By the way, a few minutes ago, 10 o'clock, we estimated you 38 miles north of us. We just picked you up on the radar there. You were 5 miles away. Over.
Yes, that's the way we move. Mostly by navigation. Over.
They really have a lot of guts, I think, to attempt it in such a frail-looking craft.
With Captain Evis on the launch came journalists and cameramen who had followed the voyage from its beginning.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Thought you'd never make it.
Well, we're here now, you see.
Great. shelter.
Huh?
Come aboard this point, probably best.
Here, little gift.
Oh.
Bottle of scotch and a carton of cigarettes.
Thank you very much. Come aboard.
Right there, eh? Oh. Pleasure, I assure you. You're,
I'm Tim Severin.
glad to meet you, Tim.
Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much for bringing John Cabot out. We're tremendous to see
My
you.
heavens, this is something exceptional. Really, my God.
I must say, I think you're the third vessel we've seen since setting out from Iceland. We saw...
6 to 7 weeks ago?
Yes, on May the 7th. We saw 2 boats off Labrador, off the pack ice, and that's it. We saw Faroese boat and U.S. Navy vessel, and that was it.
Actually, we were lucky this morning. Just ran right into you. You know, we were heading, you might have seen us approaching. We were heading a little bit more to the eastward. Then the lookout called down and said there's something just flying on the port bow, you know, and I got looking at it and said, geez, now, just got a position from you and you were supposed to be about 38 miles.
Yeah.
Can't be him, but geez,
Can't be
it's awfully small. Anyway,
Well,
after the second, third look, you realized that it was.
What-
I could see your cross up there.
really
you know,
is
yeah.
it?
With a
Can I offer you a small tot of Icelandic Brennivin?
Icelandic? What?
Brennivin. They have.
Certainly,
It's called the Black Death.
Black
It's like Norwegian.
I'm afraid it's not terribly hygienic aboard this boat, but there we are. Goes best with a bit of salt water. Are you going to have some photograph? Get some. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll have a mug, thank you. Bloody peasant.
I'm going to
How many are Irish here, you say?
His name's Maloney, but he
I
claims...
married an Irish girl in St. John's. Second time around. We have a house called Breffany. I was just wondering if anybody ever heard the name. Is there a village in Ireland? This is supposed to be... It's not a town, apparently, because we have a National Geographic map. In fact, Mr. Colson and I were trying to find it last night. The house is Breffney. And this chap came from Ireland and he named the house Breffney after his home. Village, town, or what have you. So it can't be a town, it must be a village.
It could be the name of a pub.
When the John Cabot left, Captain Eavis promised a reception committee for Brendan's landfall. She was now all but in sight of her goal and the coast of North America. After 50 days at sea from Iceland, with more than 4,000 miles behind her since leaving Ireland the year before, Brendan's pursuit of a legend was coming to an end. And the legend had looked more like the truth with every mile. On her last morning at sea, her old friends the whales surfaced alongside her in a dance of farewell. In 1977, the leather boat Brendan reached the New World at 8 p.m. on June the 26th on the shore of Peckford Island off the Newfoundland coast. She reached the shore, and a man was landing. She had nothing more to prove.
We'll just take her to the harbour. Sarah. George, we're taking out now. We got you ashore.
Men had come from Europe in a medieval boat of hide. Now, in motor cars, the seagoing men of Newfoundland surged down to greet them and to wonder at their vessel. As they were towed into Musgrave Harbour and safe moorings, Brendan's crew could see Captain Evis had lived up to his word. The reception committee was there in force. From a harbour in Ireland, across an ocean to a harbour in Canada, Brendan and her voyage had caught the imagination of seafaring people in ports and shipping lanes throughout the North Atlantic. Though she'd not always known it, she'd been watched out for in Scotland, in Faroes, in Iceland and Greenland, and lastly in Canada. Yet through it all, it was Brendan herself alone who had weathered both storms and ice to get her crew home.
Okay, running, John? We're rolling. Okay. Well, are you satisfied with everything that you've done?
Pretty much so. I think we're all, just overwhelmed that it's all worked out so well.
Tell me, what was the worst part of your trip?
I think we probably, each one of us, got a worst part. For me, it was, we ran into some very heavy weather between Iceland and Greenland, but really heavy weather in the Denmark Strait. And we were out in it for about 24 hours, and I thought that every wave could have taken us. But we were lucky, and the boat looked after us.
And you did strike some ice that punctured her?
Yes, we were about 24 hours in the pack, and just as we were getting out of the pack, we were unlucky and we got nipped, and a sharp corner of what must have been very old ice punctured the hull. And of course, inevitably it was a gale, and inevitably we had night coming on, and we had a pretty dismal night pumping her out until dawn, and then George and Tranda managed to get a patch stitched on her in mid-ocean, which you couldn't do with anything but a leather hull.
Did it leak other than that?
No, we were actually taking less than 8 gallons a day.
Is there any sign at all of it deteriorating after all these months?
Absolutely none, and believe me, if we'd been in a wooden boat in the ice, we'd have just been crushed.
Does this satisfy you then that the devilish Irish probably did come across here?
It satisfies me that they had the technical knowledge and the ability to get here.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Canada.
We welcome them far over the sea, and so we've come to give them a royal welcome from Brendan and the 4 crews sailed the ocean blue, and here they are with every one of you. This is the royal welcome for St. Brendan and her crew. We're very happy to do it. We're very proud that much of our able to do in this wonderful program. That day so well deserved. Thank you for joining the parade too. Everybody, let her go as a celebratory in your life. I'm sure the captain is very happy. We're very happy to welcome here.
But Brendan's voyage is only part of the quest for the Irish navigators. In making the Brendan voyage, Tim Severin is not saying the search is over, but that only now can it truly begin.
And here, overlooking St. Luna Bay, in northeastern Newfoundland, are some marks on a rock, which, according to some archaeologists, may have been cut by Irishmen. We know that they are at least 200 years old because of this lichen mark here. On the back of the rock, there are more scratches covered with far thicker lichen, which places them as even earlier. It is said that this could be Ogham writing. It's not definite, but it's a possibility. The Brendan Voyage has shown that the Irish monks could have reached the New World. The question now is, when can we find the final proof? Somewhere along this coast, perhaps, there's another rock, there's another carving, which will give the final proof. We know how it could have been done. Now it's up to us to look for the final evidence.